Welcome back. Thanks for waiting. We are going to be getting into Lillekanin versus Snute, because that's what's ready to go right now.
Yay! There's also some issue with people, I guess, doing other stuff and making these brackets go a little bit more hiccupy than expected.
Yeah, you can personally report and you can turn that button off, and someone was being stupid with it.
Yeah, we don't know, but either way, best admin ever, holy moly's, on the case.
Yeah, exactly. We did miss a donation, so...
Yes, I said I would also replay this manually for him because it was a very particular donation at that.
Yep.
So this goes out to Nimdox, who I believe we also missed his shout out. Says for 9 months, he says any time of day y'all are casting. Thanks. Then where's that button for the super sexy time?
I'm not gonna drunk. Oh, on the hot scale, I'm a 10, baby.
So he donated $10, no message. Thank you very much. Slimy Franco also resubbed for 15 months, no message, but thank you nonetheless, good sir.
Oh, shit.
Or perhaps madam.
It's true.
This shows the emotions aren't working. Why are the emotions not working?
The emotions. Oh, and they're on your thing. Alright, well, unfortunately, True and Keen also happen to be ready at the same time, but we got both of these guys in the lobby, so let's just stick with it.
I don't mind Snute Lillekanin. I think they'll be fun.
Sure. See what Lillekanin has learned from the Korean cyclone gods. Basically innovation.
I don't know. Okay, I think my webcam might just be dead. I was like, it's not tracking the eyes or the eyebrows, just my mouth, and I realize now it's because I don't think the webcam is working. So I'm gonna fiddle with this for a second while we get into the game.
Lily, you ready? Ready? Oh my god. Alright, well, ladies are still waiting for Guru and Alive. That was one of the ones that was misreported. That's still going on. And Nerchio does face off against Sleep. And as always, to do both semifinals. That should be good today.
Yeah, and depending on how fast the cast goes, guys, you might get a bonus bit of content at the end. Not gonna promise anything, but we do have to conquer this week's mutation still. Yes, normally we do that only for YouTube, but maybe you guys will get a taste.
Yep. Here we go. King Sejong Station. TvZ in the bottom right. As the red Zerg, he is Liquid Snute.
And his opponent spawning opposite is going to be the green Terran player, Lillekanin. Now, I think it's safe to say we know Snute is one of the better foreigners. It's just going to be so tough for Lillekanin to take this series. But with his unconventional playstyle and very different attitude and approach at the game, I do wish him the best, and I want to see something cool.
Yeah. I really want to know if he's going to mix it up with Cyclones again. He usually doesn't versus Zerg, believe it or not. He has a variety of things he can do, which also includes playing Standard a couple of times if he's really not feeling the weirdness or just wants to, I don't know, practice that. But mech, he does generally go for lately. It seems to be the tank Hellion variety into the mass liberators. So it doesn't start off with the mass starports, but gets into them eventually. That's like the last 3 or 4 times that we've seen him. But I really want to know if this is just, you know, he's watched the VODs, he's got inspiration from the Korean leagues or whatever, and is now actually wanting to perfect the Cyclone builds. I do think it's going to be mech. I think whatever type of mech it is up to him, but I do want to see some mech. Snute is a guy that has been playing into Lillekanin all the time. I don't know about ladder, believe it or not. It's like, Teal didn't mean to be BM when he said this, but it was like I usually don't face him on ladder because the MMR is too different. So I think it's going to be the same thing for Snute and Lillekanin, but they face each other quite commonly in online cups, and I'm certain that they both know each other's style. Lillekanin's heard a lot about Snute, Snute's play a lot against Lillekanin. It's they're always in these European timed cups. Thanks you to Bad Me Too for the 7-month resub. What a paradox. I don't know how to do this.
Oh my god, I know. Alright.
I think he was gonna try and catch Rifkin off guard. He usually doesn't read the entire thing before he starts talking.
Shut up. Well, Twitch chat can see it because it's a public message, so my brain explodes with frustration trying to figure out how to handle that one.
Yeah, right?
Do you think, before we get too far into this, I know there's another barracks coming down. Okay, way over here and it does get scouted. I was gonna say though, do you think Lillekanin at some point in the series will change it up, do something weird like mech or just pure air?
I
Or do you
really
think we're
thought,
just gonna see him try a mix of whatever?
I really thought he was gonna go for a mech this game, and a Cyclone mech too. So King Sejong, not a bad map for it, but to mix it up and just go for. Wait a minute. I think a second barracks is coming down. Oh. Well, never mind. I don't know what you said then. Yeah, okay, I thought he was gonna go for mech. Yeah.
Okay.
So, he's getting a handful of Marines. Second factory's on the way, and I think I would love to see him do Cyclones.
Just trying to figure out what that second barracks in the bottom left was about. Like, what are you gonna proxy, Marauders? Like, it's too late for Reapers at this point.
Yeah, maybe he was like hoping to get like a scout. Because if he's gonna go Cyclones, he wants that barracks scout, and it'll take forever to get from over
You know,
here.
that's actually not a bad idea because we've talked about this. It was a longer time ago with Marine Lord back in like middle of HOTS where the logic was the barracks is only 150 minerals. If that gets you more scouting than 3 scans worth, then it's worth it.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what he's gonna go for. The tech lab's a waiting.
Or not even 3 scans. I guess just 1 scan because the difference of a mule or not.
Very interesting. So Snute not only was probably watching Shoutcraft and all the, well, not all the Korean leagues, I would say, but probably Shoutcraft. I mean, he did play in it as well. So against Snute at least, or against Innovation at least once, but that wasn't Cyclone Mech. The point is, I think Snute will have some idea of like what's, you know, what's happening with the scouts. Like, this shouldn't just be like, oh my god, I have no idea what's happening. How am I going to prepare against this? First of all, I said before, Snute knows that he likes to go mech. So, in general, the anti-meching is going to be the Roach. So he's got that going for him. Next, he wants to make sure that it's not like, you know, super 3 starport at a time mech, because that would be different too, but...
You know, there's some cool things to be said though about what mech can possibly do. On one side of it, you got players who will react to it, I think, like second nature. They're just good reactive players. That's Snute in a nutshell. But we also had some instances where, for example, when players were not playing reactive, they were playing their own style of Zerg, because nowadays it's 2016 and Zerg can do their own thing. When we saw players go straight to Ultralisk, it was actually Thermal who showed us that unsieged tanks are actually pretty freaking good at kiting Ultras. So, while I'm not certain that Snute's 100% going to lock this down, there's always a small chance Lillekanin can get something done. I am more interested to see if we learn something new through his tactics.
I thought maybe Snute was going to go for a bit of a push here. He was getting an okay amount of roaches. Like, if you're only worried about Hellions, 6 will probably take care of you. 3 here and 3 there. And, you know, scout for any additional Hellions, of course. But maybe a little bit more scared that it was going to be Blue Flame Hellions, because he did see that Tech Lab moving, and it was for a Blue Flame, but just they aren't showing themselves quite yet. So, nothing but defense for these units here. The thing is, if you know it's a Cyclone build, you know that Hellions don't really... They're going to provide some buffer, and they're eventually going to be Hellbats, but that's only some buffer against Roaches. But the Cyclone number won't be that high, so you can kind of try and overwhelm them with early production, given a good opportunity. Now the wall's up and there's more units, it's back to being just like, okay, I gotta macro up, and then you can decide what to do against Lillekanin's style. Well, Snute was a little bit supply blocked there. Almost helpful that he took out a couple of roaches. Oh, the blue flame was just too scary. The compositions for both of them can counter each other, but only with proper positioning. And Lillekanin's is the one that has more micro capability here, so
yeah, more
he's
mobility.
Just barely winning out.
Donder God, push out for the 3-month resub over there. Oh, we can't actually properly repair these depots. He's got to lower that one depot in the back.
Yeah, it's kind of odd to see that.
I mean, the SCVs were appropriately pulled. It's just unfortunate the SimCity was working against him.
Yeah.
The Cyclones on the backside also starting to bleed out. This is a bit unfortunate. At one point, Lillekanin's supply is still fairly low, so he actually cannot defend in 2 locations at the same time. He could probably defend all of Snute's forces in 1 location, but not 2. So as these tanks start coming out, it gets more and more important that he finds a way to actually split his forces, because obviously the back door, not something he can repair. That's going down soon. Ravagers will take out tanks. There's no medevacs to shuffle these around.
I wonder if this pressure has made Lillekanin change his mind here. He did bother getting Magfield Accelerator, but isn't going for Cyclones anymore, so... Snute kind of already feels like he's very much so in control of this game, even though not much has happened. Third base does cut down only because Snute's not over there to deny it, but he could easily send some units over there if once he realizes like this is over and done with, the defense is good enough, which it is now. With 3 tanks, I think you're not going to go up that ramp with such limited amount of units. But he can go around. Though I'm actually be surprised if he doesn't go around. He doesn't have roach speed, and he doesn't have any upgrades. So maybe he's more considering like, hey, I don't want to throw away the only army I've got just by being overzealous here. But he does send the Lings, and I'm glad he does that because he can certainly get these mules.
Just backing up for one small moment too. Speaking of the Magfield Accelerator upgrade, whether he's continuing to go for Cyclones or not, in itself, it's not that expensive an upgrade, so it's not worth canceling, I feel. So I do like that he let it finish, because the idea that you can go back to Cyclones later, they can be your anti-air, those will all be benefits to him, perhaps later in the game. But we do see a Thor coming out, and I was actually going to talk about this next, because while Cyclones might be okay for anti-air, Thors have had a new and weird found role with the anti-air field. Obviously, on one hand, it's got its classic way of dealing with mutas, the splash, the clump, the bonus versus light, but its new transformation mode is actually pretty good, and I'm wondering if the range on it will be enough to tango with Brood Lords, as we know Snute likes to go that direction instead of Ultralisks.
He is kind of eating his dessert before his dinner, though, if that is his intention. Like,
well, I think they'll be good scrappy mid-game use. They got a lot of health, they can soak a lot of hits, they deal a lot of damage, but you're right, if he was doing this strictly for that, that is getting way too ahead of himself.
Yeah, I think that's what I was going to go into, is that they're not bad to have initially. They got a lot of health, they actually pack a bit of a punch, they get outnumbered very easily because you're already such slow production with mech. Thors are even slower, but the problem with that is that, like, okay, so you have a good defensive setup and you do get Thors added in early, that's great, but you don't have that good of an early setup, to be honest, right now for Lillekanin. He went for Cyclones, didn't do any damage. And Snute knows exactly what to do against this guy.
His unit's in the wrong spot, too. Those Hellbats aren't busy washing the Lings off the Thor, so the Thor can't shoot the Ravagers. The tanks are not doing too bad, I want to note, on their own. But here in this base, he's been broken pretty hardcore. Production's not going to cover him like it normally would. Ravagers have a lot of damage, and that base was just gutted. Unfortunately for Lillekanin, it's taking some pretty heavy losses in this attack.
Yeah, and Snute is just going for all, like... You can't call it all-in, but he's making nothing but units because he's got enough drones, he's got enough tech, he did finish his 1-1. Going up to Hive anyway, Lillekanin knows he's been busted. GG.
GG. Game number 1 goes to Snute.
Yep. Well, I was kind of hoping for something different, more to the Cyclone usage that we saw. Lillekanin was either forced or was always planning to only open with Cyclones, and if he's going to play like he usually does, where there's been no improvements made or no changes made, Snute especially is going to demolish this guy. I love Lillekanin, and I think that he has become this contender now for like top 4 or maybe even finals. He did get through like the Ting Cup, for instance. Like, he's improving in a lot of different ways, but he's still not super hyper consistent. And a guy like Snute, who will just roll over him if he does the same exact thing like he's trying to do. By the way, back bracket update. Nerdshio did defeat Sleep 2-0. Sleep not exactly looking so hot. I actually kind of want to see Sleep versus Tails, because in my mind, they're kind of on the same level, which is at one point fan favorites, looking pretty good, on really good teams. Now just kind of almost fodder for the round of 16, round of 32, which I'm not trying to be BM saying that, but that is kind of the way it's gone. Sleep has not looked impressive when we cast him, and neither has his Tails. So I wonder which one of them is better if they face each other in the bracket.
Yeah. My webcam, I'm actually gonna worry it's either dead or the 2 free USB ports I have on my computer are. Either way, I'll look into that later.
What is this new thing? I saw this when I was watching Shoutcraft, I think. Yeah, because there's a couple of Korean guys in there. The Korean names or the Chinese names or any of the different alphabet names now have a parentheses in it. You see?
Oh.
Like, is
Yeah.
that, do they choose two different names, or is that like a rough translation, or, because I don't think it's a translation at all.
I'm gonna click on the channel and look. That's interesting. I didn't notice in the chat. I just kind of glanced over the name, I guess. They must just make you pick a secondary English name or something to participate in English chat. Because I know that we don't have English mode only on, but there's some chat channels where you can set English only mode on.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
it might do something where auto bans you even if you are speaking in English because your name's not in English or something. But anyways, we do have a proxy, so let's get this kicked off. In the top left side, looking for a comeback in game number 2, it is going to be the Green Terran player, Lillekanin.
In the bottom right, expecting something. It is the Red Zerg Liquid Snute.
I feel like when you play Lillekanin, you need a book that sounds like a pregnancy book. It's like, what to expect when you're expecting. And it's just like listing all the cheeses Lillekanin is capable of.
That is a great analogy right there. It would be.
Luckily, though, between multiple casts on the channel, the fact that I know both Lillekanin and Snute actually watch a good fair amount of BaseTradeTV, combined with whatever they've played against each other, I think this is something that Lillekanin should be aware that he knows that his opponent will have an idea he's up to no good. I don't think you ever come into a Lillekanin game expecting him to play greedy, is what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah, I think there was like once or twice he tries to throw that in to be the outlier, like the 4cc before anything else, but nah, he's usually about that aggression first and foremost. Thank you to SE2 Pepsi for the 7-month resub. Despite not liking Pepsi more than Cola, I still love you. It's gonna be a 4 racks. The Ling does scout it, because there's only, you know, he tried scouting with the Overlord here. Most people do not put it in the middle, but Lillekanin can put it anywhere. But this is the other location for sure to send 4 racks or 3 racks. The timing on this racks is a little odd anyway, but he's also going to scout that it's 4 in total, which is very odd. It is usually just 3. And he's prepared against it. I mean, even just these Lings buying time against 1 or 2 Reapers is pretty huge. He's already prepped against it mentally. All he needs is the time to literally get the units physically on the field. Or artificially, because it's a video game, but whatever. Words. The Overlord can't do very much. Maybe later on he could try and pick up Speedlings if Lillekanin's being a little bit stubborn about leaving, or if, you know, Snute is actually desperate and this has gone all well, according to Lillekanin. But I think the last 3 games we've seen from Lillekanin, this build has not worked out, I want to say. Because remember, he also sometimes includes the bunker, and it kind of looks kind of cool, but maybe one of the games it did work. I don't think he has like a 100% fail record with it, but it just seems that recently he's been facing 2 good Zerg players. Anyway, there's the bunker I was talking about. And the roaches are out, but they haven't turned to Ravagers quite yet. You might just try and bust them, though. I mean, that's a lot of roaches. The problem with, you know, thinking like, oh, I have enough units, is that grenades make them fly everywhere. So, you know, a lot of units then becomes 2 groups of okay amounts of units, and it can complicate matters. And no, Snute really is just gonna try and... Well, he certainly stopped the bunker from getting up. So there's I guess, number 1 right there. No Healy Hut for the Reapers, and now he's gonna get a Ravager.
Well, the grenades are getting some decent damage. Normally we see the Ravagers push this back so easily, but Snoot's still a little bit tentative to really just push in. I think he's realizing his numbers are starting to get to that point, though, where he is very much so the one in control.
Yeah, because that's the trick to other Terrans, I would say. Like Euthermal, for instance, is that you can't be caught over-defending, or you'll lose in the macro game. You lose the follow-up. For Lillekanin usually does just go, like, balls to the wall here. Like...
Yeah, there's usually not double CCs placed down like I see people like Euthermal, for example, do.
Yeah.
But this balls to the walls attitude is not such a bad one. These roaches are seriously taking some very heavy hits.
Yeah. I'm surprised this Snute hasn't gone for 1 or 2 more Ravagers as opposed to, you know, 1 or 2 more roaches.
Yo, I really gotta say, I keep bringing this up when we see this happen, and I'm gonna keep doing it until we see a pro find a way to perhaps mix it in. But I really think once you get to a point of having, like, let's say 10 Reapers, hell, more than that, obviously, +1 weapons is worth such a good investment, I feel. Because Reapers, a lot of people forget about this, but Reapers shoot twice, so upgrades double benefit Reapers.
Yeah.
And as we see right now, a lot of the focus is on the grenades more than the actual auto attacks. But if you can auto attack and 1 volley down a roach with your Reapers, that's kind of a big deal.
And the complication, I guess, is in gas, but Lillekanin is affording 4 Reapers at a time occasionally. I think he would have Already done 3
This
racks.
is almost working, by the way. I just want to really stress that Snute went from being in such total control to Lillekanin can almost A-move in here.
Yeah, more roaches are on the way, but Snoot's having his own gas problem. And he never got speed for his link, so it's not like those are going to provide any help whatsoever should he get them.
It's been 5 Reapers for 18 roaches so far.
Snoot might have just lost. Yeah, I think he did.
Jeez, yo, I just want to point this out there.
GG.
Good game, well played. Lillekanin just went 1-1 with a build that should have been easily stopped against one of the best foreigners in Europe. So that's a good game for Lillekanin, I'll tell you what.
Yeah. That is just tying it up 1-1 though, and is now Snoot's loser's choice for the map. So probably won't let that happen again. We're gonna go for a quick break though. See you guys in 2 minutes. Welcome back. We are just waiting for Lillekanin. He needed a second. The next map is going to be New Gettysburg. Gettysburg. Hamburger.
I have bad news to report too. What's going on?
Oh yeah?
Another pro gamer has slaughtered yet another innocent critter.
No!
As Euthermal has earned the achievement, Legacy of the Ursidon. Rest in peace, you beautiful beast.
That's so
And may you
mean.
find peace.
That's mean. I think I have that achievement though. He's the one critter that I actually killed.
I have not, because I don't play this dead game.
I killed him once in Death Song. If I had to kill him again, like they hadn't put that achievement in yet, when I killed it, I probably wouldn't. I feel too bad.
My fuck.
What?
I didn't look at the the mutation till just now for this week.
Oh, it's hard. People.
It
are
looks
saying
like
it's the
it's-
hardest.
Yeah, it reminds me of that one where things kept spawning and we went on tilt, dude. We almost didn't beat it and
Yeah.
shit.
That's why it's the hardest. Like I don't even care anything else when it says that it has void rifts. That's when I'm like, oh shit, it's gonna be super hard. So, anything, whatever else the other ones were, the explosion on the ground, or the fire on the ground, and I forget the other one. Don't even matter, man. It's just about that non-stop unit deployment. Ugh. Looks like Guru did 2-1 stylish though, so the incorrect bracket became the correct one. Give them a few more minutes.
Mm.
And Nurtio is waiting for the winner of that. So ZVZ in the bottom half semifinals, guaranteed.
This is such a good Reddit thread. I wish English had more stories like this. So there's this thing right now about how, I guess in Chinese, the word contradiction is made up of like the symbols for spear and shield.
Okay.
Because it comes from way back when merchants would try and sell a spear that could pierce any shield, but also a shield that would never be pierced by any spear. I think that's super duper cool, and like, I love learning those little like intricacies to how a word came to be, and English just doesn't have anything like that.
It does. I can't think of an example right now, but since English comes from a lot from like Latin, right? There's a couple of, I think, funny situations that arise. I know that people who took Latin. Oh shit! Damn.
Okay, we're not actually supposed to talk about this one. We'll figure that out later.
Okay. Well, you are still the best Korean commentator.
Ryomar is the loudest, the most hype, and the craziest Korean commentator we've ever seen.
Anyway, I'm sure like people in chat who are like actually took Latin in school will come up with like a bunch of different ones. So, you guys, I'm depending on you guys. Anyway, let's do the introductions. New Gettysburg in the bottom left, Oz, the red Zerg. He is Liquid Snute.
And his opponent, Spawnagreen Planetarian, it is Lillekanin.
I read this one thing, and I can't remember if it was like a Today I Learned on Reddit or like something on Tumblr, so I'm not like... I still don't quite believe that it's true, but if it is, that's really cool. But that up until a certain point, we didn't really have the capacity or the realization to be able to read silently. So like monks, when they read, would read out loud all the time. And apparently it's 2 different ways to use your brain to read out loud and to read silently. And like...
Because...
that kind of sounds like something I could believe in.
When you brought up the Latin thing earlier, I was just going to say most English stories, like air quotes here, the equivalent of, are usually just like, oh yeah, the French said that word. We thought it sounded kind of cool, so we use that word now too. Like,
But yeah, and we steal all our words. It's true. I mean, like the roots or whatever can be really funny with combined with the ends. I don't know. I just know that there's like the Latin nerds. All right. Okay. I don't know if you had it in your school, but there was, you know, the sexually active band geeks and the you know, the popular kids and the sporty people, and then there was like this subsection of nerds that was the Latin nerds. So they took Latin because they didn't think anything else was interesting, or because they wanted to do better on their SATs. Because if you learn Latin, it's easier, you know, to understand the root of the word and whatnot when it came to the English side of things, your SATs. But then they became like super like just. Did you know that this one word is actually because of this one word, and then that's the one word that we use this today? And you're just like, oh yeah, that's interesting. I'll never remember that. Thanks. The ultimate cool story, broskers. Yeah, that was the Latin nerds in my opinion.
We didn't use stereotypes.
That's
we weren't
not true.
assholes, so I don't know.
That's not even true. My high school wasn't even that asshole-ish, but we definitely had our groups. Stereotypical band nerds. Actually, our popular kids were probably the nicest people, and it was the band nerds that were all jerks. What is wrong with Spy Depot?
It looks like it's slightly on an angle, like the ground there
Yeah.
isn't even.
Yeah, it isn't. It's at an angle.
It looks like it's actually ready to launch something out of it. Like it.
Choo.
Oh my gosh! Do you ever watch the Samurai Pizza Cats?
No.
Well, for those who did, like the giant gun that came out of the tower, that's what I imagined this would be. But, okay, a little unconventional. Starport in the top left, not in his main base. I can't say this will necessarily benefit him much, but this is a second starport, not the very first starport. So it'll be cloaked banshees from one side and perhaps something just unseen from the other. I mean, I can't imagine you getting here with a better angle for liberators. And if you are just going double pump banshees, why not just put them both at home? It is liberators. Okay. The reason I was saying I don't understand the proxy point for these liberators is I don't think it actually gets them that much of an extra angle of an attack. But perhaps speed, being of the essence, gets that to the third just in time before Queens and Spore Crawlers are down. Either way, we're going to find out shortly. I do hope that if this is going to be dedication to Banshees, though, we'll get to see that super sweet Hyperflight rotors.
Yeah. So Snute got a scout into the main base where if that other starport wasn't proxied, that'd be a great scout. If that was the only starport and it was proxied, that would be a great scout. But what Snute actually scouted, everything looks kind of okay. You know, obviously Hellion Banshee not on the top tier of builds being used, but still everything looks pretty normal. So he's not looking around for hidden proxies or anything like that. As the Liberator comes in, that might be kind of like a question mark, like how'd you get to that location and a Banshee? And he might start looking for the proxy, but as you said, I'm not really sure how useful this proxy is going to end up being. Oh, there you go. The Liberator is destroyed pretty easily. The Hellions aren't getting too much done. The Banshee comes in, but his Spore Crawler is already prepared, so... I think the ideal situation for this build is not being scouted whatsoever, so you just don't have any Spore Crawlers. And then the Liberator comes in, takes away the only anti-air. The Banshee comes in, doesn't have anything to statically defend against it. And, you know, you get damage somewhere, ideally in both locations. And instead, no damage from either location.
Well, there's more Banshees where that came from. These Hellions are doing a pretty good job keeping that depot up, just keeping Lings off of it. But of course, Snute is at some point going to say, this is a waste of time, go around through the north. Nidus Worm's an interesting touch. This not only can be aggressive, but perhaps lead to island bases.
Yeah,
And, rest
that's
in
true.
Pepperoni's poor mules.
Oh, well, not quite. So close, though. Lillekanin is only just getting his real production up. He is not planning on using the starports as his only production. In fact, not even using this one, really, anymore. As you said, Snute might be using this Nidus Worm for, well, okay, island bases. But no, he does go for the attack in the main. I would just say maybe the island bases, because he's really have that big of an army. You know, he's still making drones, so I was a little curious to see him do Nidus Worm in the main here.
I didn't realize his armory still weren't done. I'm like, why aren't those Hellbats yet? But Banshee damage is not to be underestimated. Those Queens don't get a second of time to even go for a transfuse. Microing back that low Banshee as well. Nicely done so far out of Lillekanin. But another Nidus Worm is on the way, and I don't think he's realized it because he's not in position.
Maybe he doesn't realize. Like, I still really wonder if this is worth it.
Look at that, like, each Banshee's like a full volley. I think he's going to be okay on the defense. The Queens aren't doing enough anti-air. The Banshees are going to live, and they'll clean up the Roaches. He's pulling the SCVs to repair, but I don't think he needs to. Just put those bad boys right back to mining or pull them to the natural.
I'm just a little boggled by this because I feel that's so unnecessary from Snute. Like, he doesn't have to go for a Nidus Worm. He was on 4 bases. He's up to 72 drones. He could have made the one Nidus Worm, said, oh, I guess it didn't work, and then just continued on with the macro game.
For Sport Girl, I was like, that Nidus Worm looks weird. Why does it look like a building? Okay, so let's talk about damage as an assessment, though, right? Like, that was a huge waste from Snute in terms of money, but at the same time, he did kill 19 workers. He cut out some of the Banshees. Not much. I think only one died, but he did make sure that Lillekanin doesn't have any army to push with, is my point. There was all the Hellions got taken out pretty easily. The Roaches are left over. He still has a fighting force back at home, and Lillekanin can't do an immediate counterattack. Down in workers, down in production, that's not where Mech wants to be. It already has a hard enough time producing to begin with. So while that attack may not have killed Lillekanin, and I don't think for Snute, I don't think you can value that at a waste of money. It just wasn't the best use of money, I feel.
It was borderline waste. When that third Nidus Worm came down, I was like, what's the point? You already used all your queens. But, it wasn't, it actually is not even that much of a problem. He still has this nice army supply. I mean, it's not that nice, but it is still higher than Lillekanin's, and he's on 87 drones, so he's going to recruit quite a bank very quickly. Going straight up to a hive, infestors to buy time, and add in with a late game army. Lillekanin still has to get all of his tech. He's getting upgrades for various different units, so not upgrading the attack on the ground once again, but still getting the vehicle and ship plating, and getting the mag-powered accelerator for his Cyclones. It's going to be a bit of a mixed bag of an army here, which might be favorable if it was anywhere close to maxed out, but Snute's going to max out far, far before Lillekanin does. Oh, he uses Nidus Worm to take the island base. There you go.
Nice. I mean, Nidus Worms aren't something you can get back cost-wise. That's kind of expensive for him to do, but let's not forget it also allows him to transfer drones where normally you can't do that so easily.
Yeah. I like that he took this one too. If he does end up taking this as a base, there you go, there's the drones. Then you're going to mine out potentially a 4th for Lillekanin. If it gets desperate, if he can't take this 4th or this 4th or even this 4th, then he'll probably try and send a command center down here, and it's going to be like, well, you clean this up. It would take a lot of time for the creep to recede and you to remember to send SCVs down there. And by that time, there's also going to be an air war going down, one that Snute's preparing for. He's got a single Spire on the way, so maybe just going for Broodlords right now, but could easily get a second Spire and gets pretty good upgrades. Roach Army's still not super impressive. We have Vipers on the way, and there are the Infestors. This army of Lillekanin, it's okay size. Like, only down 30 army supply would be okay for mech, but one fungal could absolutely destroy the supply here on these Cyclones.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not even just the Cyclones, too. The Banshees clumped up in the air with the Liberator. All kinds of badness can go down.
Mm-hmm.
This scan, though, is kind of funny, because you get a nice scan on the map. You see Vipers. You see that greater Spire start for Lillekanin. He sees everything you think you'd want to see. He's even scanning the island base. But Snute went and took the not conventional island base. He may still scan for this. I don't know. But this is kind of Snute. This is kind of cool out of Snute. It is actually very forward-thinking.
Yeah. I wonder if, like, because Lillekanin heard the sound of a Nidus Worm, maybe just thinking that it's going to be used for transportation between the outer edge of the bases, almost like a Nidus Canal.
He has no idea. That's the closer base. It's not even occurring to him. I think that's so freaking clever out of Snute right now.
That's pretty funny. Scan checks what the army is like. I mean, I think he's really just wanting to see, like, when the Broodlords are coming, or the Ultralisk, or, you know, what exactly that Hive tech is going to get Snute here, because I don't think he's seen the Vipers. Oh, no, he saw them charging, actually, on the Hive for the extractors, so he does know about the Vipers, but this is just, yeah, okay, there's some things you can do defensively, but as far as attacking into Snute, I don't think that's ever going to go very well for him. He's gonna get his Loop Raiders abducted. He could try and snipe the Vipers, the Vikings, if he's like really on top here, but he's also gonna dodge Fungals at the same time, and it's gonna be too much. Defensively, Snute could mess up too. I mean, run past missile turrets, you know, have the army pre-split, and suddenly Snute doesn't look that great, but eventually Snute's gonna have Broodlords, and they're gonna be quite instrumental in cutting down the side defense. Even with the new Thor and the amount of Loop Raiders Lillekanin has, a good amount of Broodlords could still be complicated. Oh, doesn't supply for him. Awkward.
Well, lots of Evo chambers coming down and not to be misplaced. These are batteries for the Vipers as time goes on. You know, I think abducts are certainly cool. I think parasitic bombs are an awesome option, and I think blinding clouds are totally viable. But most above any of that, I really like Snute's static D. It is the old school anti-mech tactic, right? Like, where's the swarm host just to make it complete? But I like this. Also, I guess that command center was floating over, and I was like, oh, I guess that's a thing that I can't have.
This is funny. Snute still hasn't seen this starport.
Despite the creep spread being right there.
Yeah, he's not going to move the creep spread either because he's going to take a base there eventually. The hatchery will be able to see it. Spore Claw is actually cleaned up by Cyclones. It's a good use of their range.
Oh, I don't know. Snute's burning a lot of transfuses into those. Jeez.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to, but yeah, there's a couple of abducts going down. The Vipers are far enough away that even if they're locked on, they should get away. Yeah, just chipping away. Lillekanin. He does have 4 bases, trying to get to 5. I mean, ideally, he would have already had a 5th or even a 6th, but that's not going to happen unless he can get some serious units over there. Because with Spore Crawlers, like, he'd have to have like a ton of Banshees or Medevac drop Thors. I'm not sure how he's going to get over there, in fact.
Oh, that poor command center. Lillekanin at this rate not going to get any expansions down. This one could still be open, but as he moves farther away from his stack defense, it's going to be increased chance he takes a bad fight. I do like the Hyperplate Rotors, but he's not going to be able to take on this base, I don't think. So, let's be perfectly clear how this works too. Hyperflight Rotors lets you move faster, but it doesn't make you shoot faster, it doesn't make you take more hits. Like, if there's a bunch of Spore Crawlers, you're still going to have a really bad time.
Ooh, Snute's pushing into this. It's a decent fungal on a lot of Hellbats. So not taking down those Loop Raiders or the
Thor has gone into transformation mode too, by the way.
Yeah, I even with that increased range, I don't think it's gonna get enough shots off. These ones have to transform. Yep, they can't get close enough.
Yeah, I mean, Broodlords still have the range advantage in every situation, but only barely. Thors have got 10 range like that now. Like, it's a pretty big deal considering Broodlords only have 11. Only, I guess. These are some of the longest range units in the game, and I'm saying only. Battle cruisers on deck. Yeah. I want to start talking about and hype this up, but I feel like the second I do, that's when the game will end. So I'm going to pause my hype, but just explain really quick that I actually really enjoy the battle cruiser for this situation.
If he could get enough in Matt's Air Army, I wouldn't mind it. He's also going for Raven upgrades.
Well, I don't know if he's going to use it for the front lines. If he's using it for the front lines, I'm not such a fan of the battlecruiser. But one thing the battlecruiser excels at, and I know this from my first-hand experience, I'm like one of the few players who could say this, is that even though there's 5 Spore Crawlers on that island base, for example, a battlecruiser can take that on. So it's not even about like, okay, you went to the front lines. You can attack into one base. You can warp away safely. You can warp in across the map and get behind Snute's lines without him being able to do anything about it. If you get abducted, if you get neuroparasited, you can also transfer out of both of those.
It has a cool potential, but unfortunately, as how expensive it is, to use it just as a harassment unit, it's going to be great for this base. I think actually using it specifically for this is fine, but anywhere else, Snute's going to clean it up.
And this goes back to me trying not to get too overly hyped up about it, right? It's just kind of cool to see that the potential thought process there from the Lillekanin, but more Thors being made as the anti-air solution. Banshees, on the other hand, fast as hell, do manage to skirt around the outskirts of the map, but they're out of energy, so no more stealthing for them. If they do it correctly, though, they should never really be fungled. They might just sacrifice for the base, but I don't think sacrificing for a base is worth it. Oh my god, he's not even sacrificing it. Snute's got so much money.
Oh, Jesus. Fungal goes down. I guess he was focusing on defeating the Broodlords, which are being pushed back anyway, so that's just
by the Thors.
A bit of a waste of the Banshees here. That kind of sucks, because there were other bases available.
The Broodlords are going to take the engagement. The Thors, if they focus fire, will do great against this, but he's going to have to back away because there's too many Broodlings. The Helmets are trying to clear up the Spore Crawlers. Not going to happen. Abducts the Battlecruiser. Not enough energy. No Behemoth Reactor. Can't even warp out of there just yet. 5 energy away from being able to do so. Feels bad, man.
One day, Battlecruiser will be great.
So the reason I think Thors are a really great solution for this too is the fact that if you do go with any amount of anti-air, Vikings, Battlecruisers, Liberators, the Spore Crawlers will gun you down. The Thor's unaffected by that. Immediately you remove half of Snoot's defenses. But unfortunately, as we are seeing, there might still just be too much of actual units for Snute. Because even as Lillekanin pushes in to focus down these Broodlords, there's still the threat. These Ravagers and Corruptors, or not Corruptors, excuse me, Infestors and everything else getting in here. I mean, we even saw Blinding Clouds moments ago. So that's probably going to be it for Lillekanin. GG.
Alright, Snute takes the overall match 2-1 and will advance on to the semifinals.
It's about as classic European Cup as it gets. All Zerg at this point, guys. All Zerg.
Oh boy. Alright, well, we're going to cast both semifinals. I think Gru and Nurchio are already ready to go, so we'll probably cast them first. I'll get back to you guys in 2 minutes.